Welcome into the Speeding in the Pits podcast with your hosts, myself, Wyatt Williams, and co-host as well, Connor Klon Huberty. How are we doing today, buddy?
Pretty good, man.
Better
Catching
now
up
that
on
it's
sleep.
not
Yeah.
Sunday?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Always wish it was Sunday in this case, but yeah, we're surviving until the next one. That's for sure.
I I don't know, man. I texted you after the race. I
Yeah,
texted you
you had
after the
some
race.
thoughts on Sunday.
I obviously kidding when I say this, but I texted you after the race. I'm done watching the sport. I'm done. I'm obviously kidding. I'm gonna keep watching because I'm a sucker, and I think that the next weekend's gonna be better than the last for some reason. And yeah, I don't know. We talked off screen here before we started about how this was supposed to be, and this was a quarter of a mile from being,
Basically. Yeah.
in my honest opinion. In my honest opinion, I'll even go this far. If that finishes in a 3 wide finish, this was a top 5 race of the last decade for me.
That's a lot, but I mean, hey, it's not crazy to think. I mean, I can see what you're saying too. I mean, the racing itself was great, and
It
yeah,
was
it's unfortunate for the
fantastic.
finish. But I think that's a question I should just ask you. Is you? Yeah, I mean, and obviously you just kind of gave your thought, but you value the last lap and the finish that
Yeah,
highly that it takes that much away.
yeah. No, honestly, I think it's one of those things where like the cherry really does complete the ice cream sundae. Like it's as great as the racing was. I still think that it's going to be one of the best races of this year. But I mean, you take away a 3 wide finish on top of all the crazy lead changes we had, the
Great race.
awesome,
Great
awesome
race.
racing that we had. I mean, seriously, that what was there 40 plus lead changes? I mean,
Yeah.
it's all you can ask for. That we had guys battling back and forth. I mean, this is what the super speedway package should look like. I mean, that was a perfect product of it. And I don't know, man. I hate saying that the finish does matter that much, but partially, I mean, it really does. At least for me. What do you think? Does it matter that much to you?
I've been going back and forth on it. I mean, I don't know, and I'm as I'm going back and forth, I'm almost a little worried that I'm lowering my standards in a sense that it doesn't matter as much to me that the finish was stopped. Yeah, do I wish we could erase it out? Like, I get it. Yeah, it would have been awesome. But at the same time, I also get like why we don't race back to the line on the last lap automatically anymore. Like, I get why that's a thing. So I think I was more in the moment like frustrated that there's just such a lack of consistency at this point in what NASCAR's calling versus what they're not calling for cautions. And I think they understand that they're being inconsistent as well. So I think it's going to get ironed out, but no, it doesn't take away from the race itself for me. Like, I thought it was a great race. I wish we could have seen him get back to the line, but I'm not like demanding the rules change or anything like that either.
No, and I definitely see where you're coming from, and I hate to discredit it because of that. It's
Right.
tough to do. But for me, man, I wanted to see him get back, but ultimately I think you brought up a good point there. Excuse me. And it's something that Denny brought up this week too. I'm not even necessarily so mad with the call
Yeah.
as I am the inconsistency because it's
Exactly. I think that's and that's what I think is actually making all of this worse is we just had what we had in Daytona the week before, where the two duels in the 500, it felt like they flipped a coin on the last lap every time in the Xfinity race and the truck race, and
will we
then
push the button? Won't we push the button? Will we
right,
push
and
the
then the
button? Won't
Xfinity
we?
race this weekend in Atlanta, same thing. Like they didn't throw it, and they immediately come out the next day and say they should have, and then you get the knee jerk reaction on Sunday, and they automatically throw it, and
Oh,
I just it needs to be black and white. I genuinely don't care at this point. Like, and then my only other thing with that, and we're going down the rabbit hole of the rules at this point, but if they're going to start just throwing the yellow for anything on the last lap, let's just get rid of overtime. Like, there's no sense in re-racking them and trying to get a finish out of it. Like, if there's a yellow flag at the end of a stage, it takes us to the end of the stage. It should just end
yeah.
the race the same way. There's no need to keep re-racking and going back out there and doing it again. Like, just let the
No,
race
no,
end.
I totally agree. I think I'm really just frustrated with the inconsistency we get.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it varies from race to race. It doesn't even vary from weekend to weekend at this point. It
Right?
varies literally from day to day with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Um, I don't know,
Well,
just disappointed in the finish. It really did ruin it for me. It's like that great TV show. I don't know, you name whichever one you want. That was
Game
just
of Thrones.
sure, great choice, just fantastic, start to finish, and it just ends with a stinker. It's like, oh
Yeah,
man,
that sounds like Game of Thrones. You got it.
it's such a slap in the face. It's just like, dude, and if this is what we're going to do moving forward, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But this needs to be something where NASCAR is going to call it every time, or they're not going to call it every time. We can't keep, oh, we'll call it this race. We're not going
Right.
to call it this race. Well, we're going to call it here, but we're not going to call it here. Like, it needs to be, as you said, it needs to be black and white. It needs to
Well,
be called or not called, and it needs to be the same every single time, no matter what track we're at, no matter what car it is, no matter where in the pack it happens. It needs to be, we're calling it or we're not, and it needs to be the same every single time.
yeah, that's what I was just going to say too. If we've learned anything about this year, the last couple weeks, it's that, or these first couple weeks of the year, it's that NASCAR, I don't think actually has like a set of bullet points or a flow chart or guidelines as to how they have a
Absolutely
thought
not.
process. Like, there's no thought process to it. It's just a
Nothing.
complete knee jerk reaction. Like, that, is it two cars facing backwards on the track? Is it any car stopped on the track? Is it, like you said, where in the pack, where on the track? Like, that, I don't think there is anything. I think they literally just look at it case by case and say, "Oh, yeah, maybe this one. No, throw it this time. No, throw it that time." Like, or don't throw it. And that's what's frustrating to me is you're watching the race in real time. You can see the wreck happening as a fan. You should be able to say, like, "Oh, that's what the rule is. That's going to be the flag."
Yeah, and to
And
throw
you have no
some
idea.
more, yeah, and to throw some more into it as well. I think that a large of this has to do with Fox as well.
Yeah, yeah, they
Not
didn't
like,
help anything on Sunday at all, honestly.
bro, it's Daytona last year all over again. We get misled like just to the max. It's crazy. Like with Daytona last year, they're showing these highlights of like clearly Alex Bowman wins the Daytona 500. But then come to find out when we see the real video, clearly William Byron won it. So it's like
Yeah,
that's the other thing too. The inconsistency doesn't just stop with NASCAR. We've got this broadcast where it's just crazy, and and God, the product is so bad mid race. There was one point, I can't remember what it was, where Clint was like, "Here, let's run that back real quick. Let's take a look at this." And he really started talking. I can't remember what it was, but I was intrigued. Like, I was like, "Hey, when you've got guys like Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer who had successful racing careers and know what they're talking about, and they go to spew some knowledge, listen up." Like that's the
yeah,
reason why you have a color commentator when broadcasting and you don't just have three Joe Schmoes up there. You have Mike Joyer play-by-play, the guy who is a broadcaster. He calls the race. He does a fantastic job. And then you have your color commentators who are players, coaches, crew chiefs, whatever you want to name across sports. They are people who were involved with the game who have an expert opinion on it. Why are they even up in the booth if every time Clint
yeah,
Boyer says, "Let's run that back. Let's check this out. Let's do this." It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen every single time.
right.
And I'm good, dude. I'm growing more and more frustrated with this.
Well,
I
you
really am.
you can just definitely tell, like, the lack of attention to detail from Fox too, and, like, I kinda said there, they didn't do the finish any favors on Sunday just because of how they do a good job of giving credit of putting the caution light on the screen for the last lap to show you, like, "Hey, if that light turns on, you're gonna see it the same time everybody else is in real time." That's great. The problem with that is when you can't find the wreck when the light turns on, it makes it look like the wreck was really insignificant and
Right.
minuscule, which is exactly what happened. Like, They were showing the 3 leaders coming through 3 and 4. The light comes on. They let off the gas. We're sitting there for like 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds pass. And then the camera cuts to, I think, like the 21 was backwards at the bottom of the track against the inside wall. And it's like, how bad was that wreck? Like, now we have to go see replays, and then we have to go check the camera when the lights turned on and all this stuff. Like, I'm not saying they had to catch the wreck in real time, but like, their camera angle choices of zooming in too much and just all these things. And like you said, they don't really use their color commentators, but I would argue sometimes their color commentators just have no tempo and no cadence, and they just talk over Mike Joy when Mike Joy should be talking. And it's a mess, dude. It truly is. I don't think Clint has much in TV experience or practice other than this Fox gig, which is showing. Kevin seems to have a little bit, which is he's still learning quite a bit too, but it's rough. It is real. It makes you appreciate what NBC did at the end of last year and what they've done for years now. I mean, really, since
Can we
Dale
just
Jr.
have them do the whole season? I'm not even
Honestly,
saying this because I work for NBC. Like I'm not even. I swear to God, I'm
that's
not even
flex.
saying this. Right? I'm not even saying this because I work for them. But like, they're just.
It's better.
It's so much better. It's levels better. It's better on every like.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be a fan like me and you who have been watching for decades now and have been engrossed in the sport for so long. Like you don't even have to be guys like us to notice it. I had a friend over, shout out Crinky. He was here hanging out watching the race. He watched the 500 and now he watched Atlanta. And like even like I'd say something that was ridiculous and he'd start giggling like he saw it too. And it's like if we've got people who are literally starting out, never watched races before in their lives, and they're seeing the issues here, like we have a genuine problem, dude. Oh man. Sorry, we won't stay on that for much longer. So Christopher Bell gets the win. Congrats, C Bell. Big win for them, starting out the year on a really high note. Yeah, going in and locking in that playoff spot now to where, either way, they'd have got 3 wins this year and locked in somewhere else. It's not a do or die situation for that 20 team. They're a great team. But Bell locks in the win, locks in the playoff spot to begin with. I'm going to move on to the guy who finished second because he had some headlines about him. And I posted a tweet this weekend about it, and I think it got misconstrued. A lot of people weren't very happy with my opinion. I think it was misunderstood. Did you read the comments?
Not many. No, I didn't realize there was.
I got called a crybaby like 10 times. I got called a crybaby like 10 times. What I was saying is Carson Hocevar, for good or for better or for worse, if he keeps up with this, he's going to get punched in the face. And again, I don't think what Carson was doing was like the worst thing that I've ever seen. I don't think it was egregious. He's an aggressive and young driver, and those things are just going to happen. I was simply stating the fact that these guys are going to lose patience with this stuff. We all heard the Kyle Busch audio after. Kyle Busch was not a very happy camper with that 77 car mid-race. And then there's a line of drivers after the race that want to talk to him. So I'm not trying to crap on Carson Hocevar here. I really like the guy. I think he's a very talented racer and has a great career ahead of him in our sport. And I really do believe that. But like, man, some of these things he's gotta work them out. I like what Kevin Harvick said on his podcast though, where he talked about he wants him to keep the foot on the gas as long as he can continue to carry the weight of this pressure on his shoulders. And I do agree with that. I think then the sport does need villains. And Ross Chastain over the last year has almost, I don't want to say shied away, but he just hasn't been Ross. You know what I mean?
Well,
like it just hasn't been the same.
Rick Hendrick put that fire out right away as soon as that was coming. Yeah, that boy was on the verge of losing his ride if Mr. Hendrick had anything to say about that. So I think that was a put up or shut up moment. But no, you're exactly right with Carson too. Like the dude's bad fast. There's no doubt about it. He's got some of the most raw speed in the world right now. But that's the thing with Carson. They've said since he was early in his truck careers. The dude's bad fast, but he loses his head and makes some bad decisions, which I'm not saying Sunday was a total failure on his part. I mean, that race stays green. I think he wins it, to be honest with you. But it's a progression. Like, he's only 22 years old. He's not old. He hasn't been doing this for a super long time. Like, you got to give him some slack. Unfortunately, the Cup Series guys are not going to give you any slack. Like, that's something you learn in trucks and
Old
Xfinity.
Rowdy Bush ain't giving you no slack there, buddy.
And we talk about all the time on this show with different guys too. He's one of them that's come up, and how valuable that truck and Xfinity Series time is. He really didn't get much Xfinity Series time, to be honest with you. He got rushed up to Cup.
It was pretty much truck to Cup. I mean,
now
essentially.
Here he is kind of still learning quite a bit, but he's still got the speed. So it's, the old the dart with no feathers on it. So
he really does.
And he's on his own.
Absolutely. No, I mean, the rest of the Spire cars haven't been doing what he's doing, and it's not like the equipment is any different. I really don't think that they are just putting money and work into that 77. I think just as much work goes into the 7 and the 71.
Seven's got riding chillers. They're not just running.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just running garbage out there. They got good stuff. But yeah, he's definitely the fastest one right now. That's a fact.
He's taking 20th or worse finishing equipment and finishing P2. So I mean, that's, again, I feel like I got a lot of flack from hosts of our fans. I'm not trying to crap on your boy here, man. I really like Carson. I think he's got a great career ahead of him. I just think
super talented.
Yes, ridiculously talented. I just think he's got to, I do agree with the statement that if you're going to walk on ice, you might as well dance, but have a little caution in there, like just have a little qualms to it, just some bit of a curl back.
It's all the older veteran drivers talking about the racing etiquette and just all of that stuff. Cup veterans always talk about it. It takes, it's kind of like an intangible thing. It's an unwritten rule, so to speak, what this etiquette is. And it feels like it takes guys 5-6 years of Cup to really lock in on what that is. He's going to figure that out. It's fine. Is he maybe going to get pushed around or punched in the face after one of these races? We have to figure it out. Maybe. Is that the end of the world? No, I don't think so.
He better be glad he's tall, dude, because honestly, I thought Ross wanted to. But that's the other thing he's got going for him is he is a bigger guy. So, like, I think some of these NASCAR drivers might shy away from throwing sometimes.
And Ross was really kind of like his mentor early in his truck career and stuff. Yep. So, like, I don't think Ross is ever going to be the guy that's going to wind up and give him one. Like, if anything, I think Ross was kind of playing defense on Sunday and going to talk to him first so nobody could go barge in and take him to task necessarily.
Yeah, right.
So I think Ross was doing him a favor a little bit, but
yeah, no, and I think that's what I like too about that I shouldn't say altercation, that interaction. That was what I liked about that interaction was Ross immediately got out of the car, walked right over, pulled him into the grass to where nobody could, to where the media couldn't be around to be involved and hear the conversation. And I really think that they kind of had I don't want to say heart to heart, but they kind of had a moment where he's like, hey man, listen, like, love you, dude, but you can't be doing this, this, and this. You got to kind of shape that in a little bit. So I definitely think that that's something to watch as the season goes on, not with Ross, but more with Kyle Busch. There's something about that, if he was upset. He was real upset. And I don't think he was messing around.
Wait till the first mile or shorter track we go to. If that 77's dancing anywhere near the 8 and giving it, wrong kind of contact or anything, he's going to be eating the fence.
Especially if the 8's having a bad day.
Yeah, that's going to happen. But he might clean it up by then. Who knows? Like, that's the thing is he finished second. He didn't really wreck anybody. Did he run a couple people over? Sure. But like nothing, like you said earlier, nothing super egregious. It wasn't the worst run race of all time. Like,
no,
it's clean. It's fixable stuff, like very, very fixable stuff. So I'm not worried about him. I think he's fast. I think he's good for the sport. I think it's good to have somebody that everybody's pissed at too. So
we need a villain.
I'm not mad about it.
No, NASCAR needs a villain. They need someone to hate again. There used to be a guy named Earnhardt Sr. There used to be a guy named Tony Stewart that did this and kind of carried the ropes. And now I feel like we haven't really had a villain.
Ross was the last one. It's been a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a season or two, so it's nice to kind of see this next guy in development. We'll see how much he cleans it up. Um, the big thing too, one last thing about Carson before we move on, that I wanted to bring up. I know I've talked about this a lot on the show, and you know how I feel about this. I cannot stand the manufacturer argument. I really can't.
Oh,
The
the
people who
alliances and
gave
stuff. Yeah.
the people who gave Carson crap because he pushed a Toyota to the win. He wasn't pushing a Toyota to the win. At no point did Carson Hocevar in his head think, "Let me just
Yeah.
push Christopher Bell to the win here." And people are upset. Well, why didn't he push the Chevy? Why didn't he push? That is so stupid. I don't care what manufacturer you got on your hood. I don't care what team you're a part of. If the white flag has been displayed, it is every man for himself. And all he was doing, and personally, I after I was a little shaky with it at first, but after rewatching, going back, I kind of liked the move that he made there with Bell. I mean, that was really his only chance. And if he slams into the rear end of the five and spins him out, then there's going to be a manufacturer problem because
Oh
he wrecked
God.
the Chevy, right? So
Brutal.
slamming the Toyota, moving him up to give himself a window into the middle. If you're racing for the win, all things, especially the manufacturer, team, all that stuff, it doesn't matter. It
No.
could not matter less. I think that's the dumbest thing in our sport is people, oh, I can't believe that he pushed the Toyota to the win. That's the stupidest mentality
Pretty good,
ever with
actually.
our sport. Right? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It kills me, dude. It
I don't
irks me.
know.
Like Parker Retzlaff last year at the Daytona night race. I can't believe he didn't go behind the Chevy. Dude, the guy is in a crappy piece of equipment and he's got a shot to get his guys to victory lane. What do you think he's going to do? Like,
Yeah.
why would he push somebody to win? He's got a chance to get the 62 to victory lane. Has the 62 ever gone to victory lane? Do you know of a 62 that's been to victory lane? Because I don't. I couldn't name one.
I I don't think it ever has, but I no,
Sorry.
I'm with
God,
you.
dude,
I mean,
on a
honestly,
tangent.
if you're a fan that's worried about the
Stop
manufacturer behind
watching,
this
bro.
stuff, like you've missed the point.
Go watch
Like
F1.
you said, well, yeah, that, and I mean, honestly, like I said earlier, I think Carson wins that race if it stays green. To be honest
I
with you,
do too.
I
I
think
actually
he
do
probably
too.
won the thing, but I I don't know. The manufacturer thing, that's a waste of time. There isn't even oxygen worth saving that conversation for. Like, just don't even bother.
It gets me heated up, dude. It gets me heated
Yeah.
up. I feel like once or twice a season, we're going to have an episode where I'm going to lash out about this stupid manufacturer. It's just the dumbest argument
Yeah,
ever.
next time we
Anyways,
go to Talladega to draft,
literally,
and it'll come back.
literally, literally. No, 100%. Okay, moving on now. I got to ask you because it seems so. Is this the best super speedway we've got right now?
Yeah, I technically wouldn't call it a super speedway. I don't know what I would call it. I hate the drafting track term because it's a super speedway or a plate race to me. I'm old fashioned like that still, I guess you'd call it, but it's whatever the drafting or whatever you want to attribute it to now. It's the best one. Like you kind of mentioned before earlier in this, that's what we need Daytona and Talladega to look like. I'm not an engineer. I have absolutely no mechanical background with these cars. Like I have no idea how any of that would work. Make the Daytona 500 look like that. I don't care whatever it
You're
is.
not
And
in for the 3 wide fuel saving?
no, not even close.
Wow.
And
I
Denny
don't know why. I don't know
and
why you're
Denny
not in on it.
yeah, gotta get it while it's hot, man. But Denny kind of alluded to it a couple weeks ago, and I only heard this clip because he knows enough about super speedway racing. I'll listen to him. Um, they gotta make the cars go faster, and they gotta take drag off of them. And I think the knee jerk reaction to that is you think of Ryan Preece at Daytona, and we got to keep these things from flipping upside down. So there's about probably 5 or 6 elements to this that need to be factored in when they go ahead and try to fix something like this. But at the end of the day, that's what it's got to look like. And Atlanta's not going to do this forever. This surface is going to age out. They're not going to be drafting like this in 5 years. Like, strike while the iron's hot. Fix your plate package right now. Get it figured out before we lose Atlanta altogether. We don't have any of this anymore. And if you don't do that, we're stuck. And a couple of crew chiefs and stuff made good points. I think Christopher Bell's crew chief, Adam Stevens, or I think that's his name, mentioned that they
Yep.
weren't doing any of the fuel saving stuff because the stages are shorter. Well, who's the genius on this show last week that was saying the 500 needs shorter stages? So then we
I'm
aren't doing the
looking at
fuel
him.
saving. Yeah, that was me. I know I have a lot of bad ideas, but I did have one good one. And I don't know how we haven't
This
figured that out yet.
guy.
That's right. That my face is far too big, and in that my nose gets even bigger. But no, I don't understand. Like we got a long way to go till we're back to the 500 next year, but
A
we
lot
got to
of
start
time to
looking at
fix
some of
it,
this.
baby. We
got
got
a lot.
all the time in the world.
We just saw everything that could be good about the Daytona 500 at Atlanta, and that's the fact of the matter is NASCAR needs to do that. We need to do all of those things and get that to work because that'd be massive. That would be absolutely massive.
I couldn't agree more with you. I really couldn't. It is a tradition like no other. A tradition like no other for us to have a super speedway, restrictor plate race, whatever you want to call it, drafting track race, where Austin Cindric has a day and leaves with a demolished race car. I mean, wow. Dude, if I was Austin
It's tough.
Cindric,
It's
I'd
tough.
be hot. I'd be hot, dude.
There's few in the last few decades, the super speedway savants. They're just the guys that actually take the time to study it and get really good at it and perfect it.
Cindric's one of those guys, dude.
He is absolutely one of the best ones. Like I know everybody talks about Joey Logano and he's a Penske teammate and Blaney too, like phenomenal at all these places. Cindric might be the best one of the three, and I'm not kidding. I think
don't
he
think you're
might be
wrong.
the best one. And
I don't think you're wrong at all.
and the problem is, like you said, it's the guys. He really is the champion of this, but like the guys that are really minding their own business or making all the right moves that end up wrecked. And I hate to say it, but the circumstances under which he got wrecked this weekend, everybody's golden boy, not necessarily Mr. Perfect all the time. So, and particularly at tracks bigger than a mile. So I think it's fair
the
to say
world is
there's some
looking for a
criticism.
problem with Kyle Larson, and this is the one that's shining through. I mean,
It's not the only time, and this
it's
is not a
becoming
one-time
real.
thing.
It's
This is not a
becoming very
one-time
real
thing.
now. It would be different if this was the first time this had happened, or maybe the second or third. But now, I mean,
There's a pretty good compilation I saw of him just driving the 5 car and doing this, and that's only in the last 4 years, 5 years now. But
yeah,
it's a thing.
It is. He really does have an issue with these super speedways. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's something that I think he can definitely figure out if he takes some time. I mean, genuinely, you said the term golden boy earlier. I really do believe that he's the best motorsports driver in the world and can get in anything and go fast.
Pound for pound. Yeah, probably.
Pound for pound.
He's
pound
up
for
there.
pound.
Absolutely.
He's got to figure out these super speedways because there is a disconnect, like a clear and obvious disconnect between short track, mile and a half. I'll throw in dirt. I'll throw in IndyCar, open wheel, whatever you want to say. There is a disconnect from those all the way down to the floor. I know you can't see my hand at this point to super speedways.
Yeah.
It's a clear and obvious one. And something I think he can tackle in his career, and I think he can figure out. Again, if anybody is going to solve an issue they have on the track, it's this guy. I mean, he's just ridiculously talented. But yeah, there's a clear and obvious red flag here with this. I think this is the first time in Kyle Larson's career that an issue, a true big issue, is shining through. I probably shouldn't word it that way, but on track issues.
Yeah.
Probably
fair.
shouldn't
Good
have worded
catch.
it that way. On track issues, I mean. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of startled at the fact that I said that, Klon. You should go ahead and talk now, and I'm going to shut up.
You're good. No, but your point that you were making there is a fact. Like it's I understand Daytona and Talladega aren't exactly the most like there's a lot of variables that aren't in drivers' hands right now at Daytona and Talladega, but there are still guys that go to the front from the back at those places right now, and he's not really one of them. Like he was pretty MIA. Um, yeah, him clearing himself like that with Cindric, that's a drafting track, super speedway. I just said the damn drafting track. I hate that, but I it's a problem there, but he's done it other places too. Like I remember, was it Chase a couple of years ago at Auto Club?
Yes, I
Fenced him.
do, dude. I do remember
Like
that.
he,
Chase
you,
was pissed.
like Kyle does have a tendency to clear himself off his rear quarter panels a little bit aggressively, and I understand like there's a little bit of a tactic there, but if you push it too far, which is kind of his problem, that's where you're wrecking people. And that is the glaring and obvious mistake that he's made. That it's the only one. You're kind of nitpicking, and then Daytona and Talladega. Like I, I don't know if there's a world right now where I have any confidence in him in those places, and I think he would probably agree with you. But that there's something you've said, like you said, that he needs to build off that or figure it out, and he has plenty of time. But this car too doesn't help. I'm giving him a pass with that a little bit too, but yeah, it's unfortunate because then he gets to the front of Atlanta at a track where, you could compare it to Daytona or Talladega, and then he does that, and it all just kind of falls apart at the end a little bit. But yeah, it's just a bummer. But like you said, got plenty of time to fix it.
Yeah, no, definitely plenty of time, and I do think he will. Switching from one legend to another here, man, we got some vintage KB this weekend.
Oh yeah,
How about that truck race? Just
that was sweet, man. Yeah,
you can really tell when a guy just has the knowledge that he has. Like
yeah,
it is so
yes,
distinctive.
fact.
Denny said that with one to go, he knew Kyle was going to win, and I think that's the way a lot of people felt with that race because, again, that knowledge just shines through every single time. He knew where to be at what time at all times. There was not a moment where there was a question, a wonder, an if, and anything. And it made me feel good thinking he can still do this. KB
Yeah,
can still do this. Like do not get it twisted. He's still nasty. He's still absolutely disgusting. Like he is that guy still, and it was really cool to see, especially, man, that side draft was gorgeous.
it was beautiful, and like you said, I mean, who knows more about truck racing at this point than Kyle Busch? Like, I mean, honestly, like anything in the lower series right now, like there's no reason to doubt him anymore. And I
Right.
think you gained confidence, or it was refreshing for you to see Kyle Busch win a truck race. I think it was a huge confidence booster for Kyle
For
Busch to
him.
see himself win a truck race. Like that might be more important for him than winning a cup race at this point, to be honest with you. Like just to find your baseline again, find your roots. And I'm not saying that like cup races don't mean anything to him. Obviously they do. I just
Sure.
think in terms of he might go win, he might have go and take more confidence and more success forward to the Cup Series with this. And yeah, just a a, a cat really playing with the mouse at that point is the way I saw it. Like that was beautifully done in the truck race, and yeah, that's vintage KB.
It was. It was so cool to see. And just kind of the wherewithal to come off of four, not just scrub by and take the lead, to
Right.
kind of hang back and time that side draft to where you boost forward and the way that Denny explained it, their car, when you do that, all the air is on that front car to where it's almost parachuting backwards
Yeah,
and
you're
just
pulling the other car backwards. You're not really pushing yourself forward at all. It's
right.
hurting the other guy more than it's helping you for sure.
And it was wild to see. I was screaming watching it. I was just like, whoa. It was cool. And it was you're right. I think this recharges the batteries. It was a rough last year. He lost the win streak.
Hmm.
Not ideal for a guy that's running this late in his career. And again, he made me cry last year when he said the quote that he said after Darlington about, maybe this old dog is washed. Man, that was
He's back.
tough. That was tough. But that right there, that will recharge the batteries. That right there shows him, yes, you're 100% correct. It showed all of us, but I think we all kind of knew it. But I think Kyle needed to see it and
Yeah.
be like, I can still do this. Like, I absolutely still do this. I'm still that guy.
Yeah.
And I think he is that guy. And I think this year, that 8 team takes a major step forward back to where they were 2 years ago, where they're winning 1, 2, 3 races this season. I
Uh,
would not be shocked if Kyle Busch wins 3 races this year.
yeah, I want to agree with you. I don't know, man. The, these last 2 tracks we just saw are going to be some of RCR's best. Like,
For sure. For sure.
you're not really going to see, like, you're going to see Kyle Busch wheeling the thing this weekend at COTA, but is it the car? Probably not. Like, they just struggle so bad at so many places where that really hurts. And I'm not knocking Kyle Busch at all because it is not him, but they just tracks where they can rely on their engine to pull that thing around the place. That's where they're good. When horsepower or engine power is just not necessarily the name of the game, it's going to look different. And there's a lot of good cup drivers right now and teams that are absolutely humming. So I don't know. I want to say he's going to win a race. I think he wins one, but it's not going to look. I don't think it's a Kyle Busch type win. Like, it's not going to be a mile and a half. Not going to be a short track. Like, it's going to be Daytona or Talladega or Atlanta again or something like that.
I hope so, man. I hope he gets one. I hope we can see him in the playoffs again. That would be cool to see him back there.
Yeah,
Moving
absolutely.
on here to another guy who drives for I don't know where I was going to transition that to another guy who drives for JGR, but
Drives a NASCAR.
drives a NASCAR. Another guy who drives a NASCAR here, Chase Briscoe. They had the huge penalty last week. And I don't know if you looked at the point standings heading into Atlanta, but he was at like negative 40 something.
He's down. He's down a little bit. Yeah, he's
So he's
down
like
a little bit.
43rd in points or something. Like, I don't even know.
You and I had more points than Chase Briscoe going into
We
to
did.
Atlanta.
We did. So my big question for you here is, obviously this team is capable of getting to the playoffs. It's a JGR ride, but what's the path? I mean, are they still able to, after this huge points hit, are they still able to points their way in, or is this going to be a win and in?
I think it's early enough in the year you can point your way back in pretty easily, but I mean that also requires that 19 car is going to be competitive, racking up quite a few top tens and such. But do I think that 19 car is going to be good enough to win a race? Absolutely. Like, I think there's plenty of places Chase will get the most out of a JGR car and be contending for it, but it's not necessarily back against the wall. Like, they don't need to be selling out at races pitch strategy wise or anything right now. Just run it out. And I think honestly, you can take a hit like that until end of middle of May. Like, see where you're at in May and start worrying about it. But right now, it should just be about maximizing your output every week. So I think they're fine. If it was like a guy that's consistently or a car that's consistently finishing 20th in points, which I know this 19 car with Martin wasn't necessarily perfect here last couple of years, but I wouldn't worry. I'm not too concerned at all.
No, I definitely agree with you. I think that they can still points their way in. I think that they're still, even with that thought of they could points their way in, I still think with this great of a ride, with this being a Joe Gibbs ride, they're wanting to win. Like, this is a team that wants to win 1, 2, 3 races this year minimum, and be competitive for a championship, because that's what Coach Gibbs is all about. That's what he builds these rides for. So I still think that they're going to be able to win and get in, but I think a points situation is not out of the question either.
No,
Um,
your bigger problem is 16 guys winning a race and you don't make it in on just being that 17th odd man out and not having that win. But other than that, I wouldn't worry. They'll make it just fine.
well, I hope so. I have a tickle in my throat.
Getting choked up about it.
I know, right? So bear with me on this. Moving on to COTA next week.
It's
we
Circuit of the Americas for everybody listening at home is what COTA stands
circuit
for.
Circuit of the Americas. We have a newly reconfigured version of the track. Kind of, what are you most excited about headed into this weekend? What are some of the things that we'll see other than a road course merchant winning?
I that's kind of what I was excited about, to be honest with you. I think I've in his first couple of years, kind of dabbling with NASCAR, I've become a pretty big SVG fan. So it'd be
He's
fun to
awesome.
see. It'll be fun to see him run a road course that's not Chicago, and just get some experience there. Do I think that means he's going to run away and hide with it? No, I think it'll be a little bit more even fight here for the Cup guys. But yeah, I think that's what you want to look at. SVG, I want to see him obviously, and then Connor Zilic. I mean, dude's what, 19? How old is he? Is he out of high school yet? Like,
I think he's
got
still 18. I don't think he's even 19 yet.
got to be barely old enough to run a road course. So yeah, 18 will do it. Like, just seeing what kind of talent he's bringing to the table, and the kid's journey is truly astronomical. What he's done in 3 years, like the dude was running Mazda Cup 3 years ago, and now he's Cup. Not Mazda Cup, NASCAR Cup Series. So interesting to see. Like, I'm not hoping he gets bumped to Cup next year full time by any means, but like this cool measuring stick weekend, I think, for stuff like that.
Absolutely. Looking ahead to this weekend, I am really looking forward to seeing SVG. I completely agree, but I'm looking forward to some of our other road course merchants.
I got
Looking,
one name that I think you would probably pick too, that I'm excited to see just for this year. We'll see if you get to him.
you know, I, I have a feeling we're thinking about the same guy here. He's great at road courses, second best average finish at road course over the last 5 years. I think we all know who it is, Mr. Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that 9 car run good at a road course again. I love it. Every week I find some way to explain how Chase is going to win the race. Isn't that great?
Yeah, I mean,
Does
it's
that ever
spoken
get
like a true
annoying?
fan,
It's
man.
got to get
No,
annoying, right?
no. The day you're a fan and not saying that, I'd be concerned. So
Right?
I
So
I appreciate it.
I don't know. I just got the feeling that this year is going to be a good year for them. I know the first 2 races haven't gone how they've wanted, but both of those situations were out of their control and they had a good car every single time. So I'm not really worried about that. I I think they're looking to make a statement early this year, and
Yeah.
COTA is a good place because Chase is so great at these road courses. We're getting a new reconfiguration, so while it's the same track, it's a different track at the same
Much
time.
shorter,
There's
much shorter. Yep,
much
much
shorter,
shorter track.
much shorter
That's
track.
about all
So
I know about it.
right, so guys like Chase Elliott, guys like AJ Allmendinger, I think this is going to be a weekend where we're going to see Chase Elliott, AJ Allmendinger, SVG, and like another great road course racer, a Chase Briscoe-esque type of situation, somebody else like that. I think that this is going to be one of those
Yeah.
races where it's going to be between 4 or 5 drivers. They're going to run up front all day long. And I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to see this new reconfiguration of COTA, kind of tuning it down a little bit from what it was. I I personally liked COTA where it was last year. What do you think? Do you think it needed these changes?
I honestly, I don't know why we ever switched it from the first variation, but I think they switched it last year from the first year. So I think they've switched it every time we've gone there now. And or was it this will be the fourth year we've been there? So I'm off, but
Yeah.
I don't know why they ever switched it 4 years ago from the first iteration, because they ran that thing in a monsoon. So how do we ever know what that track was supposed to look like when it was nice out? Like, I don't know. I mean,
Fair.
fine. I guess I understand that, like, you want to build a track that suits the cup car, but we're already on a road course, so it's not really a stock car traditional racetrack to begin with. So then why not run the F1 track just to see the difference in lap times and everything else? You know what I mean? Like, why not just run the direct comparison? I
Yeah.
I, I don't understand why not, but I don't know. I guess they know something I don't, so I'll let them keep tinkering with it.
Absolutely. And yes, with Connor Zilish running this weekend, my big question for you, how much longer we got to wait? I know you're a big guy on making sure that the The steak is cooked to perfection. Let's not pull it too early. But
That's a
kind
good way to
of
put it. Yep. Good way to
where are
put
we
it.
at? Do you think we're getting close? I mean, especially if he comes out this weekend and runs well in the Cup Series. Are we getting close?
I think at most you're looking at like probably 2 years. I mean, next year maybe not. I think this is his first year Xfinity, first year really stock car full time. So I'd consider that not really counting towards going Cup next year. But I'd say one more of Xfinity next year, and you're right in the ballpark. I don't know why not. I agree with it. Like personally, do I wish he'd run like 3 or 4 years of Xfinity? Oh yeah, like I think that'd be awesome for him and a good car to learn on. Right now is the Xfinity series. It doesn't totally translate to Cup, but nonetheless, you learn a lot. So yeah, I think by 2027 he'll probably be full time Cup, but
It
we'll
makes
see.
sense. I
That could be
think we're
wrong too.
very
Like this year is still a measuring stick for him too. Like if he comes out and he's running 25th in the Xfinity series all year, which I absolutely don't think is going to happen, but
no.
like if it would, like add another 2 years to whatever I just said, or another year at least, like it's still kind of all up in the air, but I don't expect there to be much issue.
If he wins at COTA, is there a way that next year we could see him at Cup Ride?
Full time? I don't
Yeah.
think so. I honestly don't. Like your SVG won a cup race 2 years ago in his first
Yeah,
shot at it, and then still had to go run Xfinity full time the
he
next
did.
year, and that was with a lot of supercar experience, and he's older.
Do you
I
think
would
these
say,
teams will get eager though? Because
oh,
part of me
they
thinks
absolutely
with Team
are.
Chevy, if I'm Trackhouse, I'm sitting here thinking, I do not want this kid to go to Hendrick. I want him to race right here at Trackhouse. And if I'm Hendrick, I'm thinking, if Alex Bowman slips up a little bit here, we could go get
Yeah.
our next face moving forward. I think there's a chance that some of these Cup teams get antsy and
Oh,
want to go get him,
absolutely.
especially like Aspire. Oh
Yeah.
man, Justin Haley. The people at Spire, no offense, Justin Haley, I love you, but they'd tell you to kick rocks if it came down to it. I really do think so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and Zilch already drove their truck last year, I'm pretty sure, at COTA. So has that relationship too. But I don't know. There's just something about I guess I'm so old fashioned when it comes to this. Is what I'm finding right now. Like you're probably right. Somebody will just throw money at him. There's gonna be a seat open. Like you might be
That's what
Cup,
I'm thinking.
but I I don't believe that's what's gonna happen. Like I do think he's a JRM for one more year. Would I be shocked? Because what would happen is Justin Marks and Trackhouse would just back up the Brinks truck to JRM, buy out if it's a 2-year deal with his Xfinity car next year. If it's not, whatever. And he's got everything he needs to be Cup racing already. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, I don't know. I'm too old fashioned. I want him in the Xfinity series for a couple years. Like let's learn something. Let's be 23 or 24 when you get to Cup and be a little bit more of an adult. And that's not the world we live in anymore. But
It
he
is
can
not.
wheel. Like that's a fact. He can drive the absolute hell out of it. But
He can. Absolutely. No, he absolutely can. Well, looking at Dakota, we're going to make our official race picks here. Who you got this weekend?
I'm gonna stick with him, just because, like I said, been a big fan the last couple of years as he's been coming into NASCAR and to America, literally at all. I want to see SVG win it again. Like I said, I don't. It's not gonna be a runaway type thing like Chicago where he's gonna be head and shoulders. He'll be in contention late and something, just make a move or pitch strategy or something will get it done. But yeah, I'm gonna let SVG keep rolling.
I like the pick. I was leaning toward SVG, but again, I do this every week out of like for being different. I will go with. That's a good question. I don't just want to pick Chase.
You'd
That's
be
the
3 for
obvious.
3 if you did. Not really. Would you be 3 for 3 if you did?
I picked KB last week, right?
That's right. You did. That's right.
I did.
You might have at Daytona too, actually. So you might be 2 for 2 on Kyle Busch, but
No, I picked Chase at Daytona, I think.
okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think I did.
I had it backwards in my head then from where I was second guessing myself. But anyway, sorry to ruin your train of thought.
No, you're good. Let's do it. Give me the 9 car, baby.
We're back.
Give me the 9 car. We're back. I want to see it. I gotta see it.
I'd love to see it personally. Like I don't have
How
one
long?
vested
Sorry, go ahead.
interest necessarily in Cup. Like I have my favorites. Chase is definitely somebody I'm a fan of, but like I want to see that 9 car go on a run this year. I want to see 5-6 wins, like just absolutely beating the hell out of some people again. I
Oh
miss
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. I need it.
So
I
does
need
Wyatt.
it, dude. I would, dude. Chase won 5 races this year.
Yeah.
I would be ecstatic. I'd be
Why
tooting the
can't he?
Chase Elliott championship horn from here until next year. Like I'd be toot, buddy. We'd be going crazy.
Toot
I
toot,
would.
buddy.
I'd love it. I'd love it. I'd love to see him get a win this weekend. Plus, I mean, it just feels like it's been so long since he won a road course. Because there for a minute, it was
Yeah.
like
Right.
this guy.
At the end
This
of the
guy
next
wins every road course, and
at the end
now,
of the Gen 6 car, he was the man.
yeah.
That was him.
His last road course win was the Gen 6 car, wasn't it?
Yes.
I think so.
Can't remember, to be honest with you. Yeah, that sounds right.
I don't think he's
Because
won a
2023,
gen.
he missed race. Was that 2 years ago? He missed races with his leg, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't last year. Yeah. Yeah, probably is.
And he did
Probably
not win a
is.
race He did not win a race that year. Last year, he only won at Texas. So,
Yeah, it might be 2021 then, or maybe even 2020.
that's painful. That hurts.
Yeah, jeez.
That hurts. So
Yeah,
consistent.
he's due.
In it
He's due.
every single week. He is due. I'd love to see it. Well, it is that time, buddy. Look her down. Look her down.
I still don't feel good about this, and I really don't know what I'm supposed to do.
We're going on what?
Up the number.
We're going on what? 3 episodes now? No, four. This is 4 of season 2. Hey, 4 episodes into season 2, baby. Look at us.
Time's flying, man.
This started at a Minnesota Twins game. Let's go. Let's channel that Minnesota Twins luck right here into this dice.
Don't do that.
Luckiest team in baseball, right?
No, don't do that. I wouldn't even consider luck really a factor on why they suck, but man, they're frustrating. I tell you what.
Sell the team. Dude, that was great. Have we ever told that story on this show?
No, probably not.
Let's do it. Before we roll the dice, let's tell that story real quick.
That story?
It's a good one. This is my intro to Klon. Okay, so I used to work with one of Klon's best friends, Austin Schindler, and he always told me, like from the moment that I got to 9, he was like, dude, you're super into NASCAR. Like, I've got this buddy who's super, super into NASCAR. You guys have to link up and do a podcast or something. And so we go to this Twins game. I'm walking up. I'm like, okay, this will be cool. I got a NASCAR guy here I can talk to. This will be fun. We meet. We talked for 7 of 9 innings. It got to the point where the friend group was walking up like, you guys still talking about NASCAR over here?
Yeah. You guys going
to the bar? Yes, we are. Yeah. Okay. We have limited time to spew our NASCAR on other people. We annoy other people. So we're just puking on each other over here for years of built upness that didn't get spewed. Okay. So let us do our thing here. Okay. And by the end of it, we looked at each other and we were like, dude, we're doing this, right? And the podcast started that way. But in the meantime, as all of that was happening, Klon had a very special sign. And I will leave the floor to you at this point.
Yeah, it took me all of 6 seconds in the parking ramp in a industrial size Sharpie to make that thing work with some tag board. No, I love the Twins. Like, definitely a baseball fan outside of the world of racing, just general sports fans. We've talked about some other stuff too, but like Minnesota's the place. But yeah, the Twins are probably one of the most frustrating teams in all of pro sports for the idea that like they're always solid, but if they spent just a little bit more money in the cap world, they would have a pretty decent team and actually compete for winning some things because, we didn't win a playoff game in 18 tries, whatever the hell it was, for 20 years or whatever. So that was kind of the world we lived in. So I made a sign last year very clearly just wishing for some change in ownership. I wrote 3 words on it that said sell the team. And not long after, it turns out I was one of the first, but then not long after that, a couple fans got ejected from a game for bringing signs in that said that. And yeah, now ownership's exploring potential sale opportunities. So message hit home in some capacity. So mission accomplished. But
Well,
yeah,
what
we got them to
happened to the
sell.
sign? That's the fun part of the
Oh
story.
God, this yeah. Well, so another thing, if you're not from Minnesota and you're listening to this, you'll find that our older generation of sports fans, I'll call it, if you're old enough to be 16 plus during the 87 and 91 World Series, you fall in this category. You don't think the Twins can do any wrong, is a lot of those people. They think the Twins are perfect and there's nothing we should change because they're the Twins and they won 2 World Series 3 decades ago.
That's good
So
enough, right?
so I had a couple of that generation of Twins fans call me over and ask what my sign was. Keep in mind, I'm decked out in Twin stuff because at the end of the day, I am a Twins fan. I just hope for what's best for the Twins, which what's best for the Twins is somebody else to spend some money. Just trying to explain that to this older generation of fan group. And without really hearing me out, they ripped the sign out of my hands, crumpled it up, stamped it on the ground. And that was the end of it. But turns out I was right, and they're selling the team. So, and I told them that the Twins weren't going to win a playoff game. All the Twins didn't make the playoffs. So, shocker. And
Called
everybody
it.
that says that's like I'm not a true fan, I don't how you can be more of a fan of your team than understanding that ownership needs to change for the team to
Wanting the
get better.
greater good.
Yeah, like I don't understand how that's not being a fan. I've never understood that. Turns out I wasn't the only person that thought that either. So
That was good times. That was funny.
it was certainly something. I'll
It
remember
was
it fondly.
certainly something.
As long as whoever buys the Twins, as long as they spend some money, I'll feel like I got something out of it. So I'll enjoy it. But just the least surprising outcome to that all time to have that sign tore up the way it was at the end, just by who tore it up, and that they think Kirby Puckett still plays and Jack Morris was probably pitching tomorrow night. They just never looked into it, and all that good stuff. They think the Twins they're just always perfect. So
I love it.
there's no need to change anything.
That's great.
Haven't won an ALDS game in 30 years. 20, not quite 30, 20 plus. And we want to sit here and talk about how we're doing so well. It's ridiculous. Whatever. Bring on baseball season 2, but
all right,
sell the team.
Baseball season is coming up, but we got dice season right now. Are you ready, Klon?
2.
4.
Odds would say, I don't know the odds. We did this last week too. I'm not a mathematician, so I do not know how odds work in this case. But my odds at some point, if I keep picking 2, I have to get it. So 2. It's not 2. Man.
One more. Here we go. For the road.
It's on the floor.
It's not on the floor.
All right. But if it's 2, it doesn't count. So that sucks. Because there goes my 2.
What are you calling it?
I'm sure it's 2. It doesn't count.
It was 3.
Oh, all right. Good. We're alive for next week. That one didn't count, so I didn't want that to be 2 because then that ruins my odds. Like I was just saying, how many rolls. That
See, look,
means
we've already got. There we go.
2.
Exactly. You want to try one more?
No. No.
Roll the dice again. Well,
I'm guessing 2 next week, but it better be 2.
We're running out of options here. It's got to be a 2 at some point. I wish there was a way for me to show it because, like, I'm rolling the dice and nobody can actually see it landing. But anyways, I promise I'm being
we all believe you.
I'm being fully and completely honest. Promise on my mom. Okay, so that's nothing to sneeze about. All right,
on your mom.
Whew. Great episode, Klon. Great episode. We got through it. I didn't pull my hair out after
you almost pulled your hair out on Sunday, but
dude.
Anytime to put in perspective, like you kind of talked about too, you had a friend that like didn't know what was going on with Fox. I had 6 or 7 separate people reach out to me after the race on Sunday about the finish specifically, asking what the hell's going on. Fans, people that probably watch the 500, I would classify as a fan and then maybe watch a race or 2 after. that was these people. So they all had Daytona on their minds too, and they were very confused. So
As they should be, as they
we
should
all
be.
are.
Yeah, not great, but this episode was great. We
We'll
got
figure it
through
out
it.
this weekend. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out at the Circuit of the Americas. That's where we're going to figure it
COTA.
out. COTA. All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, tell your grandma about us. We
That's
appreciate
important.
it. She'll appreciate it.
Maybe.
Tune in. Maybe. You never know. Tune in next week. We'll bring you some action from COTA. I should say we'll bring you. We're not doing anything. We're just talking about it, but we'll
Thank
talk
God
about
we're
it.
not.
Yeah,
Thank
right.
God.
Can you imagine? That's what we
Nope.
should do. We should go do that Richard Petty experience and show how
Not
little
at-
we know.
Not at COTA. I'm not turning right. Hell
No.
with that.
It's blasphemy.
Not a road course. No, thank you.
That would be tough, but man. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you taking time to listen to us talk about left turns. Like I said, as always, tell your grandma, she'll appreciate it. And we will see you guys next time on the Speeding in the Pits podcast.